everybody. Hey, welcome to our week 22 design reveal. I'm Paula from Desert Cat Creations, and I want to welcome you all to our design reveal day. So, hope you all are having a great week. It's been pretty nice here in Arizona. A little warm, but not as warm as it could be. Stayed below 100 until I think today it may hit 100, but that's what the swimming pool is for and the air conditioning, right? So anyways, hopefully, like I said, you've had a chance to be creative this week. Today we are going to make ear wires, and then we are going to use them to make some earrings, because obviously if I'm making ear wires, I need to make earrings, right? So we are using lapis in our design. We're using pastel colors, and we're using clear beads, as well as at least 3 types of findings. So that's going to be fun. That is going to be our fun for today. So it's June. If you haven't already, please subscribe, or, join our Bead Stash Challengers group. We'd love to see what you guys are making. It's a friendly group. We're sharing stuff. It's a small group. We all are encouraging. And every, when you get post, it gets you into a drawing for a free monthly giveaway. That giveaway changes from a month to month, and it just comes down to what I feel like giving away. If you're a first-time winner, you will receive a Desert Cat Creations card holder. But you may also receive something else as well, because I like to be generous. But, we need more people to play along. So please come join us. Hopefully, as people are heading out on summer, I know summers can be busy, but also summers sometimes allow time to be more creative, because days are longer. There's all sorts of things. Hey, Lorraine, thanks for joining me. So, if you haven't already, please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm trying to get my subscriptions up on YouTube so that we can simultaneously broadcast on YouTube. So, but I am transferring videos over there. So if you're ever looking for a project that you didn't remember, I am transferring videos to YouTube. Because Facebook only saves them for 30 days. So if it's more than 30 days since you saw me make that project, you're going to have to check YouTube. This year, I've transferred everything except for March. I missed March because that's when they changed the rules. And then last year, just some key projects, anything that I thought was a little more creative than just basic stringing techniques or wire wrapping techniques. I tried to transfer those videos over there as well. And every once in a while you get a special little bonus video. I've been doing little reels of my desert life. One of the things when I'm not creating with you guys, I like to do is go walk around in nature around here, and so I've been putting together some reels of especially the spring, of all the flowers that have been happening. So we've probably only got a week or 2 more of flowers before we switch over to kind of different sets of flowers, but the saguaros are kind of finishing up. They've got their fruit out for the wildlife to feed off of, so I'm hoping to catch at least one of them with the fruit open. So when you see pictures and paintings of people that people have put like bright pink flowers on the ends of saguaros, chances are it's because the fruit burst open. So the fruit is green until it bursts open. The inside is bright red, and it kind of looks like a flower when it bursts open. So I think that's where people are getting that from. So it's not a flower, it is the fruit. The flowers are those little white flowers that I've been posting. Anyways, enough of your saguaro lesson today. But anyways, again, try to join us over there. I don't think I have any other announcements. We'll be on our regular time on Sunday. Sundays, I always do my drawing for what I'm going to make this week. And then we always, unless there's something else going on, we have a bonus project. So you never know what that's going to be. But So last week's bonus project was the floral bracelet, what I'm calling my Desert Blooms bracelet. So that was made with our Desert Blooms bead mix, which is a collection of 7 curated colors from their crystals purchased through Beadoria. But they represent, to me, what I see in nature as far as the colors of the flowers, the cactus blooms, and all that stuff. So that's out there. I have those bead mixes available for $12 each. If you buy more than one, you get discounts. I'm also going to use today some pieces from our metal mix because I have to use findings in my project. And what is metal? Most of the metal is findings, right? So findings are all those metal things that go with your beads, right? So it's metal beads, it's buttons, it's head pins, it's ear wires, it's all, you know, like I said, just think of metal. So we're going to use some of those today. And then those of you that haven't been paying attention, we do have a new deck available too, our Desert Southwest expansion deck. So this is all things desert, but I would say that my challenge cards focus on sort of the culture and the nature in New Mexico and Arizona, which is what I've kind of done for the Desert Southwest. But hopefully you will enjoy that. So you could buy this deck by itself. You could use it by itself. You'll just have a limited number of projects, but it does have all 3 types of cards and enough of them that you could play along with that. But I still recommend getting the base deck. And just a reminder, so if you buy any 2 items from me, you get $2 off. If you buy the Desert Southwest bundle, which is the cards and the 2 bead mixes, the metal mix and the bead mix, you get $5 off. So it's an extra special deal. To order, all you got to do is message me at Desert Cat Creations, or even comment on one of my videos that you're interested in purchasing, and then I will get back to you and we can work things out from there. So enough of the sales pitch. Let's get on with our project. All right. So I hope you are having a great day, Lorraine, and that it looked like the East Coast there was getting some pretty warm weather. I think it was going to be warmer in like Maine than it was here today or something. I don't know. Anyways, all right, so here's our cards. We are going to make some ear wires. And then, let's see, we're going to use some pastel colors. So let me see what I pulled out here. So to make my ear wires, I am going to use some Soft Flex 20 gauge wire. I prefer a little thicker ear wires. I know some people don't, but I would recommend using 20 or 22 gauge. I wouldn't use anything softer than 22 gauge, okay? So, and the nice thing about Soft Flex wire is it's nickel and lead free, so it doesn't cause reactions for most people. Hey Veronica, thanks for joining us. So for pastel colors, I pulled out a couple things. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to use yet, but I pulled out these fun little pink flowers. And then I also have some pink Heishi beads, Heishi crystals, really, from, actually it says these are peach, but they looked kind of pink to me. We're going to use them as pink. Anyways, peaches also. These were from Beadoria and a Friday Night Live with Kay over at Stars Beads. Then we have to use lapis in our design. So we talked about lapis last week because we ended up using it in our design last week, I think. So I have some lapis beads here. These are the dark dark lapis, and you know, if you're, sometimes they can be heat treated or dyed. But I also wanted to show you just sort of the variety of colors that lapis comes in. So this is Afghanistan lapis, and you can see it varies a lot from, it's got a lot of whites and grays and some sort of lighter blues. So, you know, that could also help me with the lapis and the pastels. Although I'm not sure, as I was laying this out, that I'm going to use that lapis. I think I'm going to use these smaller 4mm rounds. Okay. Then we have to use clear beads. So I've got some just crystals with AB coating. So, you know, they're nice and shiny and sparkly. Those are also from Stars Friday Night Live. So there we got those. And then we have to use at least 3 types of findings in our designs. Okay, so our ear wires that we're making will be one of our findings, okay? And then I thought it would be fun to incorporate some of the metal beads from our metal mix. So we're going to use these rattlesnake beads. I know you think I'm crazy. I'm going to use flowers and rattlesnakes together. But that's my plan at the moment. It may change when we start putting these together, but it's my plan. And then, so we have beads that are one type of finding. I have some head pins. That'll be our finding, second type of finding. And then our ear wires will be our third, unless we decide to add more like metal beads somewhere along the way. So that's what we've got to work with today. All right, so let's start by making ear wires. We've made ear wires a couple times recently, and I'm going to, well, I'll leave the cards out there for the moment. Like I said, we're going to start with some wire. I'm using 20 gauge wire. Now, if you're just making plain ear wires, I like to use about 1 3/4 inches. I just think it makes a nice size ear wire. If you like them a little smaller, that's fine too. Or you make it bigger. If you don't have something like this 6-step looper to get consistent loops, what I recommend doing is cutting a 3.5 inch piece of wire. We'll demonstrate. We will make more than one set of ear wires here today, okay? So here's my ruler. And I am going to cut 3.5 inches of wire. And I'm also, I have a small file here. I am just going to file the ends so they're not sharp, because this side is probably the side that's going to go into your ear, right? And like I said, you can certainly use 22 gauge wire. I prefer thicker ear wires because I think they're less likely to fall out, even though I wear backs on my earrings most of the time because I don't like them to fall out. All right, so if we're making 2 ear wires, we want to make matching ear wires. So I'm going to fold this wire, lining up the ends, and then I'm going to leave it connected for the moment. But I am going to take a pair of pliers and just bend that in. So basically I've got my wire with the bend in the middle. All right. So I'm going to take that bend, and like I said, if you don't have looping pliers, take some round nose pliers. And the reason you want to do this, you're making two wires at once, and this makes them the same size, because if you don't have your looping wires, you might not make them the same size. So I'm just grabbing that part where they're joined, and I'm folding it around like a small part of the wire, or the pliers. So now I have that loop there, right? And then, you know, it really depends on how big you like to make these, but I'm going to go up just a little bit on my pliers. So I've got the, maybe a 1/4 inch there or something. And I've got those circles facing parallel to the ground. And now I'm just going to bend this wire, and I probably should have gone the other way because my pliers are not, they're kind of flat on the one side, but that's okay. All right, so now I have 2 ear wires that are the same size, and they match because we're all about matchy, okay? And now I can cut them apart. So I want to, I'm just going to stick my cutters in where that joint is. You can pull it out a little just to give yourself more space. And I'm going to trim that right in the middle. So you may have to, work a little to get it in there, and trim just a tad off of that. Maybe on both of them, because you might have a little bit of a piece of wire sticking out. But that's going to be the part that you're attaching your items to, so it doesn't really matter. But now you have your 2 loops, right? Your loops on each of these. They're the same size. Now, I made really small ones. You could make bigger loops. It all depends on what you're wanting to put on there. So if you're trying to put something directly on an ear wire that requires some bigger loop, that's one of the reasons why you make your own ear wires. And then I like to just go up a little bit and bend them out, just because it's easier. It's easier to get these on your ears when they have them bent out. So, all right. So now we have a matching pair of ear wires. Now, don't forget, you want to work hard in these a little bit. So, like I said, you can take a pair of flat nose pliers, or you can hammer them on a little bench block, or I think it's Artistic Wire makes like these plastic blocks that you can kind of put it between there and also work hard on them there. But anyway, so that's how you make basic ear wires. Now, if you're going to want to make ones with beads, which is what I want to do today, because that's part of the reason why I like to make ear wires, is to add beads to them. So each of those beaded ear wires, I use about 2 inches to 2 1/4, depending on what size bead I want to put on. So if you're doing like a 6mm bead, which I probably wouldn't go much bigger than that, although you could on your ear wire, but just make the ear wire a lot bigger if you're going to use a bigger bead. So for up to 6mm bead, you can probably 2 1/4 inches is good for the measurement, but, and so I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 1/4 inches. Okay. I'm going to file those ends real quick. Now, you know, you may not be much of a metal worker or wire worker, but you still should have, I suggest getting a small file just for things like rough edges. All right, so to make a decorative one, I am going to use my my 6 size looper. So I'm going to stick that end as close as I can to the middle. Just make sure you can hold on to it. And then I'm going to bend my wire around. I'm using the second from the smallest at the moment. And then once I have that loop, I kind of want it so that you're basically making an eye pin, okay? So the loop, and then you have the wire going straight out of there. And then we're going to put the beads on. Now, I was thinking that I wanted to use some of this sparkle on my ear wires. So let's pull clear bead off. And then I was thinking maybe of putting some Heishi's right next to it. So these clear beads are rondelles. They're not rounds, but they're definitely rounder than the these kind of Heishi beads. So, you know, we talk about Heishi beads, and in the Southwest, they're very popular. You'll also see a lot of them in shell designs, but this is basically the Heishi sheep is these small discs. So you will see that a lot in Native American jewelry. All right, so I was thinking we'll put these beads on here and see how they look. Now, you know, I talked about using 20 gauge wire. If you're using little teeny tiny beads, you may have to use 22 gauge wire. So I think I'm just going to add that little bit of sparkle to my ear wire. So I want to bend right at the top because you want to prevent those beads from coming off if you lay your earrings down. I've had that problem plenty of times. So and I am going to use the large one, and I am just going to set the beads up next to the looper, and I'm going to use my finger to pull this around. So, you know, I generally, like the ends of my ear wires to go down to where the loop is. This one doesn't. It's not the end of the world. It's okay. But we'll need to make sure that we make matching ones since we're making a pair. And so I'm going to go ahead and just put an extra bend in this to make sure those beads don't go anywhere. And again, I'm going to bend the end to make it easier to get on my ear. And I need to work hard on that a little. Now the other thing is, if I carefully hammer this, which I may want to do, that'll also keep the beads, could keep the beads from moving if it's big enough. But anyways, there we have a sparkly ear wire. So let's make a second one, since we're, you know, we need them to match, right? So again, I used 2¼ inches. And I'm going to just real quickly smooth out those ends. And make sure, you know, you fill it with your hands to make sure that it's not rough. And like I said, I'm just doing both sides because right now I don't know which side I'm going to put through. You know, technically you'd only have to do one as long as you make sure that's the side that you make the loop out of. All right, so let's take our looper again. And remember, we stick the end as close to the middle as we can. And since we used that second from the smallest, we're going to use that one again. And then I'm going to make the wire straight up like we're making an eye pin. And then let's get we are going to put the same 3 beads on here. And I want to bend the wire away from the opening. Okay. And then again, I'm going to stick that wire in between the 2 largest ones. And since I used the large one, I am going to bend that wire around here. And like I said, I'm gonna bend this a little more because I don't want those beads to be coming off when the earrings are laying down. I'm gonna bend this one just a tad more. All right, and then we, remember, bend a little tail there. And let's just line them up to make sure they match. Because sometimes, you know, you get a little off. And see, you can even see the bead is moving there. There's really not much you can do other than, like I said, keep a nice bend in there, and I'll probably go back and hammer that so that it makes it a little harder for it to get around. And you do have to be careful. Let me get my hammer out. So, got my little teeny tiny bench pin. So what you want to do is just lay it on the edge so that the bead comes up to the edge, and really carefully, because you don't want to crack your bead, you just hammer that, and this helps it hold its shape, and it'll make it easier. I mean, do you ever go to put earrings in and the ear wires are fighting you because they're bending instead of going through your ears? This helps prevent that. All right, so just be aware, you may not want to store these earrings laying down because, like I said, the beads may come out. And what you want to do is hammer both sides so that you have it flat on both sides and have that design. But all right, so there's our fancy ear wires. Set these aside, and now let's put together the rest of our design. Okay, so what I was thinking, I don't need that out here. I want to put I'm going to use some head pins Now, I think these are 20 gauge head pins. You could use 22, 24. Just make sure whatever you use, you're using the same, you know, approximately the same wire that you're using for in between things, right? Okay. So the snakes have kind of cool offset holes, and just because I want to add some sparkle, I'm going to use some more of these Heishi beads with the their little rattlesnake. Make him sparkly. Give him something sparkly. So what I have is some sparkle there and next to his head, and I am going to make a dangle. So let's make a wrapped loop here, and so I'm going to do my 90-degree bend, put my round plier in there, and you don't need a huge loop, but something that gives it a little motion because we are going to make these dangles. I'm going to pull the wire around so that I have a nice circle there. And I'm going to grab my loop, and I am just going to wrap this around. And because this guy's head sticks up a little, I am just going to turn and wrap until I get that wire tight in there. So trim that, and then we're going to tuck it in. Okay. I like to tuck with my skinny flat pliers. And don't worry too much about which direction the loop is going, because as long as it's, you know, on the top, because we can adjust that. But now we have a little sparkle to go with our snake. And we've used 2 kinds of findings, right? All right, so then I was thinking I would maybe above that use this pink flower. Let's see how that goes. I'm actually going to use some 22 gauge for this, but we'll see how it goes. So I've been in a flower mode this week, I guess, because, you know, we made our flower bracelet on Sunday. All right, again, our 90 degrees, and I really don't need that much wire, I'm sure. Now, one end of this is going to be what I'm going to hook into the ear wire. This other end is hooking into our dangle, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to just grab this because it's easier for me to hold on to it and wrap my ends around. Sometimes I feel like it's backwards to try to get this tucked in, and I still don't have it tucked in. Sometimes you'll find that, you know, your ends of your wires kind of bend down instead of around. One thing I've found is if you put your bead up next to it and then tuck it in, it can't move, and you can get it all tucked in there. Okay. And we'll figure out, make sure everything's facing the direction we want it to face once we do this other loop. So now I'm just going to do a loop on the top here. And like I said, this doesn't have to be a huge loop because it's just going onto our ear wire. So I'm doing kind of a smallish loop. And because I'm keeping this on the spool, it's a little easier to do my wrapping. I don't have to use my pliers until I'm ready to tuck it in. So trim close. All right, now this one we do care which direction it goes because it has to dangle off the ear wire. So your top loop has to face forward. But you know, you can make these sometimes it's easier to plan if like you always make the top loops facing forward. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and put this on our flashy ear wire that we made. And since my beads both have this front and back the same, I don't have to worry about what direction I'm putting this on here, but I would have to if I had something that only had the design on one side. All right, so there we've got a flashy rattlesnake earrings. I've got my crystals there. So I got my clear, I've got my pastels, we've got pink, which is a pastel, we've got lapis, and then we've got our findings. We've got the head pin, we've got the bead, and we have the ear wire. So let's go ahead and make a second one. Who says you can't have pretty snake earrings? And it is, you know, if you may not like snakes, I mean, I don't want to run into a snake, which I have, but fortunately I haven't run into a rattlesnake yet while I've been out walking and stuff. But it is the year of the snake if you're following the Chinese zodiac, so it's very appropriate for that as well if you like to follow any of that. So all right, so we've got our crystals. I certainly could have gotten by with much shorter head pins, but I didn't have any with the large bottoms. So again, now I want to try to make it about the same size as the other one. Some people I know mark their pliers if there's specific if there's a specific size loop they want to use for things. I have to admit I have never done that. Let's get that guy tucked in there. So its head being there makes that up. Oh, all right, my head to my, I just tightened that too much and it broke my head pin, so we will be making another one. So that does happen. If you accidentally do it too tight, you can break your head pins. learning lesson, you know. Always good to have a spare around. All right, so I need to try not to force it so tight this time. So we're doing a 90 degrees. We're doing our loop here. Oop. Try to keep our crystal from. All right, so this ends up, I need to bend that a little more because it was going to be way too short compared to the other one. And like I said, you want them to matchy-matchy as much as possible. All right, I'm going to try not to overwrap this one because, like I said, we already broke one head pin. Let's see if we can get that end tucked in without breaking our head pin this time. That is one advantage to using, you know, like 22 or 24 gauge head pins is it's the, you know, the wire's not as thick, so sometimes it's a little easier to do your wrapping. All right, now we need to make our top part, so we're going to put our lapis beads on here and our little flower. And let's make our loop. And again, you want to make your loop big enough so that this can move. You don't want it too tight. Because what's the point of having sparkly dangles if they don't bounce around and catch the sun, right? All right, so I am just going to force that around with my pliers. And that one was way more cooperative than the one we did before. Okay, and one more loop. Alrighty, woo! Now, if you wanted to, if it's easier for you, you can hold your wire in here and then do the wrapping. I find it easier to hold it from the side and then wrap, but whatever works best for you is what you should do. One thing you'll learn is that when you're using pliers and the different tools, some things need to be used certain ways, but others find the, you know, figure out what works for you. A lot of people, you know, like bent nose pliers, there are some people that use them. I've seen videos of some people that use them a fair amount. I quite honestly only use my bent nose pliers for chainmail, and I don't know why, but that's just how I started using them. Okay, now, you know, like I said, these both have front and back, so it doesn't really matter, and you can switch these around, but if you want, you know, the heads going in opposite directions so that you can make them kind of dangle a little different on your ears. You might want to pay attention to how you put this on here. So I think this one I have going the opposite direction. I'll show you when I lay them down here. So, all right, so we're putting that on there. We're tightening this. And like I said, do this sort of like a jump ring. You want to just get it up there nice and snug because you don't want your earring coming apart when you're not using it. And I just realized that that crystal came all the way off, so that's annoying. I would suggest that if you're going to make something with these crystals, and if you have beads or whatever that move around like that, that's when you want to make sure you have, you know, one of those earring stoppers on your pair of earrings so you don't lose your crystals in your jewelry box. Because I've had that happen. I've lost the beads in my jewelry box. So, all right, let's look at these up closer. Let me clean up my pliers out of the way just because still got beads everywhere, but that's okay, right? We're supposed to. So, like I said, I have these, and they're I'm going to face the ear wires opposite directions. So, see, I can tell that my snakes are both going up the same direction, but I kind of like them when they're dangling from my ears. So, like, if I have like an animal bead, I like them facing opposite directions. So here, flipping them around, I have them going in opposite directions. So there we have our sparkly, springy rattlesnake earrings. So I will try one of those on. And we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so here's what it looks like on. I can put both of them on there, I guess. All right. So there we go. We have, sorry there. I have an appointment this afternoon. It's my calendar is telling me. All right. We have our sparkly rattlesnake earrings. Yay. So if you are interested in any of the components we made in this, or we used in this project, let me know. We do have the, like I said, the snake beads are from our metal bead mix. The other stuff was from my stash, but you can get the nice crystals on Beadoria, a lot of them in the different colors. If you're looking for those little Heishi crystals or the rondelles. And that's our project for today. So we made 2 ear wires. We made plain ones, we made decorative ear wires, and then we made earrings that used all of our components. So we will be back on Sunday. Like I said, we will be drawing for next week's project, and we will find out at that time what project our bonus project is going to be. I have not, you know, I don't necessarily know on Thursday what I'm going to do on Sunday, but, you know, I will be starting to think about it as of after we're done here. And always, if you want to check any of the older projects, any of the videos, on our Bead Stash Challengers page, I post the pictures of all the previous projects, so you can look back at those if you have any questions about any of them that you'd like to know about. And then we also have, like I said, I've transferred a lot of those videos over to YouTube, so if it's within 30 days, you watch it on Facebook. Otherwise, you have to watch it on YouTube. But I will try to, I'll try to start posting those links more often over there. And if you haven't already, you made it, everybody's with me, cool. If you haven't already, please subscribe to us on YouTube when you're over there watching stuff. Because like I said, I'd like to be able to broadcast on both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So, and I need more subscribers because like Facebook, you guys all helped me with Facebook because I had to have a certain number of subscribers in order to broadcast. Same thing on YouTube. Nice thing about YouTube, it's only 50 and I think we're over halfway there. So anyways, take a look. And as always, if you have any questions, message me at Desert Cat Creations. Be happy to answer any questions you might have. And if you're working on a project and want some opinions, you're welcome to ask. And I can help show you how to do something. We can always do an Instagram chat or an instant message chat or FaceTime if that works best for you. Just to help you through your project. So. I will see you on Sunday, and I hope you have time to be creative. And like I said, please join us in posting on our Bead Stash Challengers group. You know, even if you're not doing the challenges, you don't worry about, you know, I identify the week and I do them weekly because that's what I choose to do. You can do them whenever, however often you want to, but we'd love to see what you're working on, what you're doing, and like I said, get you in for a monthly drawing. So Janelda was the winner. We do have a rule, you can't win 2 months in a row, so that's why we didn't drawing, but she won these cowboy boot earrings, so I will be sending them her way. And you never know what you're gonna win. So all right, I will see you all Sunday. Thanks again for joining me. Like I said, please like and follow us and subscribe to Desert Cat Creations on YouTube. And I will see you all on Sunday at noon.